Welcome to Yoga with Lucy. Today is a short practice to aid digestion. So we're going to be doing quite a lot of twisting, a lot of stuff kind of down on the ground. We're doing a little standing flow and we will have a nice relaxation at the end. So start seated, cross-legged if possible. If cross-legged doesn't work for you, feel free to kneel, have your legs out long, even sit in a chair for this first couple of minutes. Starting by closing your eyes or lowering your gaze. And we'll breathe. So inhaling long and full and deep. Make those exhales soft and gentle and full. So breathing has a lot to do with digestion. When we're taking short, sharp breaths, when we're not fully breathing, when we're stressed and tense, we're putting our body into fight or flight mode, our nervous system. And the opposite of that is rest and digest. And in order to do that, in order to put our nervous system into rest or digest, we slow down, we lengthen the exhales. So let's start with some breathing, some pranayama that's designed to do just that. We're going to do 5, 2, 7 breathing. That's inhaling for 5, holding for 2, exhaling for 7. Let's take a big breath in together. Sigh it out. And breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. Out, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. Out, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In. Hold. Out. And then let your breathing return to its natural rhythm. Sitting up nice and tall in whatever position you're in. We're going to start with a little twist to the right. So bringing your right hand behind you, bringing your left hand to rest on your right thigh or your right knee. This might look different depending on how you're sat. But think lifting and lengthening. Crown of the head is reaching up to the ceiling. And that creates some space here so that you might be able to twist a little bit deeper. And take it to the other side. Inhale to lift and lengthen. Exhale to twist. Bring it back to center. Again, nice, full, deep breaths. 3 breaths. And then we're going to come over to all fours. So if you're on a chair, now is the time to get down to the ground. Come into all fours and setting up with a nice solid base here. So your fingers are kind of clawing into the mat. You're pressing into the fingertips and the knuckles. You're pressing into the palms. You're not letting all your weight just drop into your wrists. teeny tiny micro bend in the elbows so your arms aren't locking out. Knees under hips, or if you feel like you need a bit more of a solid foundation, you might make them a bit wider. As you inhale, soften your belly down to the mat, lift your chest, look forward. As you exhale, tuck the tailbone, arch the spine, chin to chest. And we're moving slowly between these two positions. So inhaling to drop the belly down, lift the chest, look forward. Exhaling to tuck the tailbone, arch the spine, chin to chest. See if you can initiate each movement from the tailbone. So you're not just moving between the two positions, you're really mindfully transitioning from one pose to another. And then we'll bring the knees wide apart, reaching them towards the long edges of the mat. Bring the big toes together to touch. And we'll sink the bottom back towards the heels. Forehead down to the mat, child's pose. Forehead resting on the mat. Keep the arms reaching out long and keep a little bit active in the arms. So fingertips pressing down, maybe lifting the wrists. So you're just on the fingertips here. You might sway a little bit from side to side. And then bring your upper body back up so shoulders come over wrists, but we're keeping the knees in this position so they're out nice and wide. Left hand comes towards the center of the mat. Right hand reaches up to the ceiling. Big twist. Really reaching up with that top hand. Turn your gaze up. And then we'll thread the needle. So this right hand is coming underneath the left arm. And we're coming to rest on the right shoulder, the right side of the face. Left arm can stay exactly where it is, or you might walk it forward towards the top of the mat. You might bring this left arm behind your back for a bind, so reaching it to the right thigh. And as you pause here in this thread the needle pose, bring those long, deep breaths into it. And when you get to the very bottom of an exhale, see if you can breathe out a tiny bit more so you start to feel that contraction. Letting all of the air out of the body. If you moved your left hand, bring it now down to the mat, and we're pressing into that hand to unravel. So lifting, reaching the right arm back up to the ceiling, turning your gaze up, and then we'll switch hands. So right hand comes down towards the center of the mat, left arm reaches up to the ceiling. Thread the needle, the left hand comes underneath the right arm, and we're coming down to rest on the left shoulder, on the left side of the face, keeping the hips up, maybe reaching the right hand forward, maybe bringing it behind the back. And again, that breathing is nice and deep. So as you exhale, you really kind of squeeze in every last bit of air out of the belly, out of the lungs. If you've moved the right hand, bring it back down to the mat, and we're using that to push ourselves up to unravel, the left hand reaching towards the ceiling. Left hand comes back down. Bring the knees so they're back under the hips. Walk the hands forward towards the top of the mat. Tuck the toes, and we're sending the hips up and back for downward dog. This upside down V shape, sending the heels towards the back of the room, pressing still into the fingertips, into the knuckles. Taking those full, deep breaths. Bend the knees generously, look forward towards the top of the mat. And we're going to walk or step the feet to the hands. So we're coming into a forward fold at the top of the mat. Bending your knees as much as you need to here so you can really let your upper body hang down. If this feels super restrictive here, maybe just heel toe the feet a little bit wider. Give yourself some space here to fold. We're bringing the palms together so the fingertips are still on the mat. Bend your knees as much as you need to achieve that. And we're going to keep the left hand where it is. The right hand traces a line up the left arm, across the chest, reach up. Your right leg is going to straighten out here. The left knee stays bent. And we're twisting, reaching that right hand up towards the ceiling, looking up. And then bring it back down, take it to the other side. Right hand stays where it is. Left hand traces that line up the arm, across the chest, reach up. Left knee has straightened, right knee is still bent. Bring that left hand down. And we're rising up. So take up some space here. Reach the arms out and up. Take a really big stretch. If you've got your feet quite wide, you might heel toe them back so they're about hip width apart. Or you might stay with that wider stance. And try and keep everything in a line here. So we're not kind of curving in the spine. We're keeping everything tucked in. We're keeping the shoulders down away from the ears. The fingertips are pointing up to the ceiling. Find some joy in this next movement. We're going to dive forward. So arms come back out and down, back to the forward fold. Halfway lift. Forward fold. Inhale to sweep it back up. Big movements. Palms come together, bring them back to heart center. Pausing for a moment here. Bring one hand to your chest, one hand to your belly. And let's really feel the breath. So you're breathing into both hands. Quite often we don't breathe fully into the belly. Maybe we're wearing slightly restrictive clothes. Maybe we try and keep that area sucked in. But let it really press into your hand. Let it push out into the hand as you breathe in. And then let everything contract as you breathe out. And you'll feel that contraction when you get to the very bottom of an exhale. And everything's kind of sucking in there. You're not holding it, but you'll feel that expelling the air. That kind of squeeze, almost as if you're wringing it out. Okay, let the hands go. You might close your eyes or lower your gaze for this next bit. You're going to let the hands hang really loose by the sides. And we're going to turn from one side to the other. Nice and slowly at first, nice and gently, not much is happening. But as we start to turn a little bit more, a tiny bit faster, the hands start to wrap around the body. And we're getting this lovely twist each time. And then we'll slow it down again until we eventually come to stillness. Take a big stretch, reaching your arms up to the ceiling. Palms are facing each other, but about shoulder width apart. Send the hips slightly forward, start to bring the thumbs back, coming into a slight back bend. Only go as far as feels good. And then as you exhale, fold all the way down. Inhale, halfway lift. Plant the hands, we're stepping back to plank briefly. And then we're lowering the knees again. Child's pose, but this time with the knees together, really together. Sinking the bottom back to the heels. Forehead comes down towards the mat. Again, if this feels really restrictive, feel free to widen the knees and come back to that wide-legged child's pose that we did at the beginning of the practice. And take full, deep breaths. You might find as your belly's pressing more into the thighs in this position that the inhale lifts you slightly and the exhale lowers you back down. And we'll start to exaggerate that lifting up a little bit as you inhale and lowering again as you exhale. Inhale to lift, exhale to lower. Inhale to lift, exhale to lower. And you will feel a bit of compression on the belly here. But if it is too much, widen the knees a little bit. And then make your way back to all fours. Swing your legs over to one side. And we'll come back to seated. Bringing the legs out long, bringing them a little bit apart. Sitting up nice and tall. If you feel really tight in the backs of the legs here, keep a little bend in the knees. It's absolutely fine. And we're going to lean forward towards the right foot, reaching for it. Sweep it over to the left and back. Leaning back a little bit, so you're making quite a big kind of stirring motion here. Take it the other way, reaching for the left foot. Cross to the right, lean back. You can exaggerate this movement as much as you like. You can make it really nice and big. Also working the core here. Or you can keep it smaller. Let's do one more in the other direction. So right to left. And then again in the opposite direction. And then stop. Bring the feet down to the mat. Shuffle a little bit forward so you've got plenty of room behind you. And bring yourself to lying on your back. Bring the knees into the chest, catching hold of the shins or behind the thighs or the knees. And again, give yourself some space here. If this feels too restrictive, open it up a little bit. You want to feel a little bit of a compression, but you don't want to feel like you can't take a breath. Let your shoulders relax down here. So if you're holding on tight, chances are they've lifted up, that's fine. But see if you can just relax them. So you're not holding them here. You're letting them relax down. Take hold of the knees. And keeping the knees together, we're going to circle them so they're both going in the same direction. And then take it the opposite way. Bring the knees back into the chest. Option to stay here, knees to chest. Or option to come to happy baby. And that's bringing the knees wider apart. Bringing the arms between the legs. And reaching to catch hold of the feet. Or the ankles. Or if you're wearing leggings or something that's quite long, you could even grab hold of the bottoms of your pants. We're pulling the knees down towards the shoulders and we're breathing deeply. Whichever position you're in, knees to chest or happy baby, we'll take 2 more breaths. And then let that go. Bring the feet down to the mat, knees pointing up to the ceiling. Bring your arms out wide, so give yourself some space here. If you're in a small space, you can bend the elbows so you're kind of cactus in the arms. Bringing the feet close together, so really, really together. We're going to drop the knees down to one side and then the other. Windscreen wiping the legs. Just a couple of times on each side. And then back to center. Now heel toe the feet so they're about hip width apart. Same thing again. Drop down to the right and the left. Right and then the left. Back up to center. Heel toe the feet so they're really wide apart, maybe splaying off the edges of the mat. And then again, drop into the right and the left. To the right and then to the left. Now come back up to center. Chances are you preferred one of those movements. So choose the position of your feet. You might keep them wide, you might bring them back together or hip width. Whichever one was your preference, whichever one felt nicer for your body. And then drop your knees down to the right. Turn your head to look over your left shoulder. And we'll take between 5 and 10 breaths here. And with every exhale, see if you can fully exhale so you feel that kind of almost wringing out of this area of the belly. And also see if you can let yourself relax into the twist a little bit more. If you feel like your knees here are just hanging in midair, you could always grab a cushion, a pillow, a block, whatever's to hand. Pop it under your right thigh or between your legs, just for a little extra support. Last breath here, make it a really deep one. And then bring the knees up through center, let them drop down to the left. Turning your head to look over your right shoulder, making any little adjustments or involving any props that you might need or want. And again, we're here for between 5 and 10 breaths. Feeling your hips relax, your shoulders. Maybe closing your eyes or just softening your gaze. Feeling your jaw relax and the space between your eyebrows soften. One more breath. And then bring your knees up to center. Extend your legs out long. Take a big stretch, reaching your arms up overhead. Sigh it out. Bring your hands to rest by your sides. Palms face up. Shavasana. Our final pose of the practice. And I'm going to close the practice here. Feel free to stay in Shavasana for however long you need. Enjoying the stillness. Taking those full, deep breaths. And knowing that in this moment, this time that you've carved out for yourself, you're exactly where you need to be. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.